Hello everyone, welcome to Steno Aspirants. Get ready for the legal dictation. 3, 2, 1, start. The learned Solicitor General then challenged the orders of the Division Bench of the High Court on the ground of violation of the principles of natural justice. It was contended that while the High Court had concluded the hearing and reserved judgment on 20th July 2011 by order dated 12th October 2011, it directed the Speaker to place on record the status of the proceedings relating to the disqualification petitions, although the same were duly filed without giving the parties further opportunity of hearing with regard to the said records. The division bench directed the matter to be listed for further consideration on 19th December 2011. It was submitted that though the bench did not assemble on 19th December 2011, the division bench delivered the impugned judgment on 20th December 2011 without any further opportunity of hearing to the parties. The learned Solicitor General submitted that the procedure adopted was contrary to the law laid down in another case wherein it was stated as under: in view of the limited scope of judicial review that is available on account of the finality clause in paragraph 6, and also having regard to the constitutional intendment and the status of the repository of the adjudicatory power, that is Speaker/Chairman, judicial review cannot be available at a stage prior to the making of a decision by the Speaker/Chairman, and a quick time action would not be permissible, nor would interference be permissible at an in between stage of the proceedings. Exception will, however, have to be made in respect of cases where disqualification or suspension is imposed during the pendency of the proceedings, and such disqualification or suspension is likely to have grave, immediate, and irreversible repercussions and consequences. The learned Solicitor General sought to re-emphasize the fact that the present case is not a case involving disqualification or suspension of a member of the House by the Speaker during the pendency of the proceedings, but relates to disqualification proceedings pending before the Speaker, which were not being disposed of for one reason or the other. It was submitted that the fact that the Speaker had not finalized the disqualification petitions for almost a period of 2 years could not and did not vest the High Court with power to usurp the jurisdiction of the Speaker and to pass interim orders. The learned Solicitor General lastly urged that the single most important error in the impugned judgment is that it sought to foreclose the right of the Speaker to decide the disqualification petitions under paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule. The said decision was also wrong, since the division bench choose to follow judgments which related to the concept of split under paragraph 3 of the 10th schedule, which today stands deleted therefrom. The learned Solicitor General submitted that there was a clear difference between matters relating to the erstwhile paragraph 3 of the 10th schedule and paragraph 4 thereof. While paragraph 3 of the 10th schedule required proof of two splits, paragraph 4 requires proof of only one deemed merger. The learned Solicitor General submitted that there was no concept of deemed split in paragraph 3. It was submitted that paragraph 4 is meant only as a defense to a petition for disqualification, is the same would succeed or fail depending on whether there was a deemed merger or not. It was submitted that under paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule, the Speaker was not the deciding authority on whether a merger of two political parties had taken place or not. It was urged that the expression used in paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule for the purpose of paragraph 4 clearly indicates that the deeming provision is not in addition to but for the purpose of paragraph 4, which is entirely different from the scheme of paragraph 3, which uses the expression and thereby indicating that a split takes place only if there is a split in the original political party and at least 1/3 of the members of the legislature party also joined in. It was submitted that the use of the expression if and only if in paragraph 4 of the 10th schedule is to re-emphasize the fact that the Speaker cannot decide whether merger of the original party had taken place. Stop. Get ready for general matters. 3, 2, 1, start. Sir, at the outset, I may mention that government is not in a position to accept this resolution. I cannot also subscribe to the assumption which is contained in this resolution. The assumption is that there is shortage of agricultural labor in the country. Sir, we have had enquiries conducted with regard to this matter. There has been the agricultural labor inquiry conducted by the Ministry of Labor in the year 1990-91, and there have been the inquiries conducted under the auspices of the Planning Commission also, and I do not want to fire the House with the figures contained in the Labor Inquiry Committee report and also in the chapter on agricultural workers which is contained in the 7th 5-year plan. Suffice it to say that the conclusion arrived at by the Planning Commission is that about 30% of rural families are agricultural laborers, and according to the Planning Commission, this vast number presents a very serious problem. It is also the conclusion of the Planning Commission that the present agricultural production in the country could be maintained with about 75% of the number of workers now engaged in it. Sir, it is true, as has been stated by my friend, that there may be certain pockets in different parts of the country where there may be shortage of agricultural labor, but taking an overall view of the position in the country, the problem really is that it is not one of shortage of agricultural labor but one of unemployment and underemployment, and that is why, sir, so many steps have been suggested by the Planning Commission, such as expansion of work opportunities within the rural economy, especially through intensive development of village and small scale industries, and also adoption of a measure of redistribution of land and provision of educational facilities and concessions to raise their social status and enable agricultural labor to develop greater confidence, initiative, and ability to avail themselves to all economic opportunities. There are also suggestions of the Planning Commission which require us to improve the living conditions of the agricultural laborers. Sir, with regard to the point that there are certain areas in which there is excess of agricultural labor and certain areas where there is real shortage, I have to say that there are plans which have been adopted. Then, sir, a point has been raised by the mover that in certain peak seasons there is real difficulty in finding agricultural labor. I may state that there is some difficulty experienced during harvest time and the weeding season, when there will be the outbreak of monsoon, which replanting of seedlings will have to be done, but the situation is not such as to warrant the appointment of a committee to go into this question at all. I would say, sir, had it not been for those circumstances existing in certain peak periods when agricultural labor is in a position really to dictate terms, it is horrible to conceive of their lot in the slack seasons, so that we have to put up with that situation even in those seasons, as we find there may not be lack of personnel, but the labor may be in a position to dictate terms. They may demand and get increased wages at that particular period, whereas they may have to be satisfied with very low wages in other parts of the year. So, sir, I feel that it is not possible for the government to accept this resolution, taking India as a whole, as I have stated, to meet this question of underemployment. We have provided in the 7th 5-year plan 40 crores of rupees for assisting in the settlement of landless agricultural workers and 50 crores of rupees are proposed to be spent by states for the resettlement of landless agricultural workers. The main lines of development in this regard are encouragement of cottage and small scale industries, large increases in agricultural production, including animal husbandry and horticulture. I may also state for the information of the House that the Ministry of Labour are conducting, with the help of the National Sample Survey, another agricultural labour inquiry to investigate into the scope of employment and living standards of agricultural labourers. Stop over.